What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunched Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Oscar Delahoya. Get this, Oscar Delahoya calls out Floyd Money Mayweather and says he'll offer him $100 million for a fight. Wow. The former 6th Division boxing champion Oscar De La Hoya has challenged Floyd Mayweather Jr. to a fight later this year with a potential 9-figure payday. De La Hoya, who pulled out of a recent exhibition against MMA fighter Vitor Belfort because of the COVID-19, was in an interview that was released Tuesday that he's recovered from the coronavirus, which he described as 5 days of hell, and has resumed thoughts of a boxing comeback. Quote, he says, "You know who I'm going to call out for my next fight? Floyd Mayweather. I'll offer him $100 million." Mayweather previously defeated De La Hoya by split decision in 2007 to win the WBC light middleweight title. De La Hoya's last fight before retirement came the following year in a December 2008 loss to Manny Pacquiao. The 48-year-old California native told DAZN's Chris Mannix, he said, "Mike Tyson inspired the hell out of me when he made a comeback for an exhibition bout against Roy Jones at the tender age of 54. I've been training for quite a while now, and I actually sparred the other day, and I didn't know I was that good," De La Hoya said at the time. He said, "I forgot how good I was. There was something there. I want to keep sparring, keep training. I want to see how my body holds up." The Golden Boy added, "We all know that a Mayweather fight would be massive." Meanwhile, Mayweather's recent fights against Conor McGregor and, of course, Tensei Natsukawa and Logan Paul, have been basically exhibitions. And Mayweather has said, "There's no more real fights for me." He said only exhibitions. So, let me counterpunch. $100 million for a 48-year-old and a 44-year-old. If those guys can create, if he could offer Floyd Mayweather, $100 million to fight, I think at the end of the day, I think that Oscar De La Hoya offering Floyd Mayweather $100 million, that is some desperate I mean, you think about it. They had a split decision fight in 2007. It was a very close fight, In fact, it was kind of controversial, and it was warranted a rematch clause. And people forget, though, that Mayweather skipped out on that. Mayweather, a lot of people talk about how Tyson Fury skips out on fights, but they forget that Tyson Fury, guys like Tyson Fury, Teofimo Lopez, those guys that skip out on rematches or possible rematches, it had to come from somewhere, and it came from Floyd. Floyd done exactly that. He had a tough fight, a very close fight with Oscar De La Hoya in 2007. I think it was May 5th of 2007, to be correct. I saw the fight. It was very, very competitive. And Floyd got the nod, but Floyd instead retired. Okay, so before people shit down Tyson Fury's back, they have to remember where he gets that from. He got that from Floyd. Now, that made Oscar De La Hoya very, very bitter. It did. It made him very bitter because he wanted that fight. He wanted the opportunity to avenge his loss. And even Floyd Mayweather Sr. said that I think Oscar won that fight. So it was very controversial, but it never happened. And I think that bothered Oscar. And Oscar tried to take on the next best thing, which was too hungry, too fast, too quick, too young at the time, and his name was Manny Pacquiao, and he retired Oscar De La Hoya. He quit on the stool after the 8th round. Coming into the 9th, it was no more. Okay, so, Oscar De La Hoya wanting Floyd Mayweather and wanting to offer this man $100 million, that's just desperate. It's a desperate move. It's a very powerful one. It's a bold one. Now would Floyd, it's money Mayweather. So the only thing that you can get Floyd enticed with this is money. fighting someone older. You can't say he's younger. He's older than you. He was the guy that you took the torch from to become who you are today. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, you would look at it and some people would laugh because you're thinking like Bob Arum, where's the money? Because who's gonna give Floyd $100 million now? You know what I mean? Like maybe a Pacquiao fight, maybe, but a Oscar De La Hoya fight, a guy that's been out of the ring for over a decade. Over a decade. Who is going to give it, and where is he going to get the money from? Because he's saying it, I'll offer him $100 million to get in the ring. And then what kind of fight would that be like now anyhow? You got a 44-year-old and a 48-year-old going in there, and I mean, Floyd never looks bad, but I mean, you've seen him in the Logan Paul fight. You could definitely tell he's aged. You know what I mean? Fighting a big brute like Logan Paul, someone that's got weight over him like a mother sucker, right? So, then you take it on someone like Oscar De La Hoya. That it would be interesting to see. People would buy it. I mean, how massive would it be? I don't know, but people would definitely buy it. It depends on how they build it up. With the COVID restrictions of these days, I think it'll be kind of hard to do the Conor McGregor Mayweather type shit or what they did before in the previous time in their original fight. Which Floyd was just acting a straight ass. To get under Oscar's, skin. And then, I think that it's interesting to know if he will attempt that, but hey, let's see what he does when it happens. But there is definitely a lot of history between Oscar and Floyd, good and bad. So, Oscar wanting that type of fight with Mayweather, I think that would be the fight to happen. But you can remember when Oscar De La Hoya was promoting Canelo Alvarez, that's the first fight that he wanted to push. Canelo and Mayweather, part 2. Right? Now he's got back in the ring, he's knocked some cobwebs off. Now he wants to take on Floyd for $100 million. Maybe Floyd might take the bait. You guys tell me what you think about Oscar De La Hoya calling out Floyd Mayweather for a $100 million fight. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.